It was supposed to be just another panel, two sides, two microphones, and a primetime audience craving sparks. Karoline Leavitt came in ready, hair set, sound bites rehearsed. Her phone buzzed with texts from her team. Hit her hard on law and order. Don't let her pull the race card. Interrupt if she gets too comfortable. Across the stage, Jasmine Crockett arrived without flash. No entourage, no dramatic entrance. Just a calm walk to her seat, a simple nod to the moderator, and a folder of documents she hadn't even opened yet. From the moment cameras went live, Karoline took control. Or so she thought. I'm just saying what every American is thinking, Karoline smirked, turning slightly toward Jasmine. People are tired of performative outrage, tired of politicians playing victim just to score points. The audience gave a scattered, uncertain chuckle. Jasmine said nothing. Karoline leaned in. And frankly, Congresswoman Crockett, I think you owe this country an explanation for why you keep defending criminals over cops, protesters over peace, and division over unity. The bait was clear. The trap was loud. Still, Jasmine said nothing. The moderator raised an eyebrow. Congresswoman? Jasmine finally reached for the mic. No rush, no visible emotion. Her voice, when it came, was soft, almost too soft for the room. You came here looking for a fight, Karoline, but I came here with facts. That was it. No explosion, no retort, just precision. Karoline blinked. The audience stilled. Something shifted, not loud, but deep, like a wire being cut before a chandelier falls. Jasmine continued. You speak of unity, yet you mock the pain of others. You talk of law, but your silence on injustice screams louder than any slogan. And I won't match your volume, Karoline, because I don't need to shout the truth. It wasn't a mic drop. It was something worse. A mirror. And Karoline wasn't ready to look into it. Karoline forced a grin. A trained one. The kind you learn when cameras are watching and confidence is mandatory, even if your chest is tightening. She turned to the moderator. With all due respect, we're not here to moralize. We're here to talk policy. But the tremble in her voice betrayed her. Jasmine didn't speak. She didn't even flinch. Just sat with the calm of someone who knew the ground beneath her feet wasn't moving, because she built it herself. Karoline tried again. This isn't personal. It's about the future of this country. Jasmine leaned slightly forward. Then why did you start with my character? There it was, the line that rewound the whole room. The moderator fell silent. The audience stilled again. A producer backstage whispered, "Clip that." Karoline shifted in her seat. She opened her mouth, but Jasmine continued, her tone still gentle, still devastating. See, Karoline, the thing about integrity is, you don't have to announce it. It reveals itself when pressure is applied. Karoline's fingers tightened around her pen. Jasmine tilted her head slightly. I don't raise my voice because I don't need to compete with noise. I build my case, like a lawyer, piece by piece, witness by witness, truth by truth. The audience was now fully locked in. There was no laughter, no cheers, just full attention, the kind most politicians chase and few ever earn. Karoline looked down for a beat, just a beat, and in that single second, every camera caught it. The eye flicker, the breath catch, the tiny crack in the performance. Jasmine looked at her, not with cruelty, not with contempt, but with clarity. I'm not here to beat you, Karoline. I'm here to remind you why this seat is earned, not given. And Karoline? She had no comeback, only silence. And behind her perfect smile, something had begun to shake loose. The moderator cleared his throat, clearly unsure whether to move on or just let the silence breathe. But the audience had already made its choice. They weren't going anywhere. Jasmine had said little, but in the stillness she left behind, there was more weight than in a dozen speeches. Karoline shifted in her seat again, her hands folded tightly, her voice clipped when she spoke next. I just want to say, I'm proud of my beliefs. I'm not ashamed to stand up for my values. No one asked her to be, but somehow she sounded like she was defending herself. Jasmine didn't interrupt. She didn't roll her eyes. She simply looked at Karoline, calm, steady, unblinking. Karoline continued. And if that offends people like Congresswoman Crockett, then maybe we need to ask who's really dividing this country. Still no response. That was the problem. The room wasn't reacting the way Karoline was used to. The usual rhythm, provoke, defend, dominate, wasn't working. Jasmine's silence wasn't weakness, it was discipline, and the more she withheld, the more exposed Karoline became. "You're not offending me," Jasmine finally said, voice low. "You're revealing yourself, and frankly, I'm letting you." The words landed like a slow-building storm. No thunder, just a pressure drop you feel in your bones. Karoline's face flushed, not red-hot, but pink and unsure. Her mascara was still in place, but her composure was slipping. And Jasmine? She leaned back, not as a retreat, but as if to say, "I've already said enough. Now let them watch." And they did. Even the cameras zoomed out slightly, capturing the growing contrast. One woman still, one woman shaken, both under the same light, but only one casting a shadow. Karoline's voice began to betray her before her tears ever did. She spoke faster now, trying to outrun the quiet, to fill the air Jasmine had left so deliberately still. I think it's unfair," she stammered, "to be painted like I don't care, that I don't understand, that I haven't worked hard to be here." Her sentence trailed off. No one had accused her of anything, not directly, not loudly, not cruelly. That was the point. Jasmine Crockett never raised her voice. She simply held up a mirror, and Karoline had been staring into it for too long. The moderator tried to interject, to ease the moment. "Let's keep the conversation focused on—" But it was too late. Karoline looked down, then looked away, then blinked faster. She laughed, a small brittle laugh. "Sorry, I didn't expect this to get so personal." But nothing Jasmine had said was personal. It was principled, and that's what hurt the most. Jasmine leaned in slightly, voice soft but firm. "It's not personal, Karoline. It's powerful, and maybe for the first time you're realizing the difference." Karoline nodded slightly, eyes wet now. A single tear slipped down before she could stop it. She wiped it fast. But it didn't matter. Every camera caught it, and no one laughed, no one cheered, because the room wasn't mocking her. They were witnessing something rare, a moment when noise failed, when confidence cracked, when the power of not fighting back said everything that needed to be said. Jasmine didn't press the moment. She didn't smirk. She didn't move. She just waited, not to win, but to let the truth settle. And Karoline, trembling slightly, finally whispered, "Can we move on?" Jasmine, without blinking, answered, "We already did." The debate was over, but the moment wasn't. Karoline left the stage quickly, chin high, steps stiff, voice silent. Her team followed behind her in tense, clipped whispers. But the internet? It had already paused, replayed, clipped, slowed down, and reposted every second of her unraveling. She didn't even raise her voice, and still, Karoline cracked. That one tear said everything. Jasmine's silence was louder than Karoline's entire campaign. Hashtags began trending. Jiang Crockett controlled, Jiang silenced, by truth. She didn't yell, but she won. On TikTok, users layered dramatic music over Karoline's blinking and Jasmine's final line. "We already did." It hit 1 million views in 3 hours. In cable newsrooms, pundits leaned in. CNN called it a masterclass in restraint. MSNBC said it was the most powerful quiet moment in recent debate history. Even Fox News struggled, anchors stammering to spin it as a misunderstanding, but the footage didn't lie. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett, she didn't post, she didn't gloat. She simply returned to her office, removed her blazer, and sat quietly at her desk. An aide stepped in. "You saw the clip, right?" Jasmine nodded. "Let them talk." She wasn't chasing virality. She was defending dignity, her own, and the office she served. And that made the impact hit even harder. Because Karoline had come to fight loud. But Jasmine had shown that not all power needs a microphone. Sometimes the most devastating sound is the one you don't make. Karoline's team went into immediate crisis mode. Control the narrative. Blame the moderator. Say you were ambushed. Get on Fox. Fast. Within hours, a carefully worded statement was posted on her social media. Last night's debate was emotionally charged. I'm passionate about my country, and sometimes that passion is misunderstood, but I will never apologize for caring. It was supposed to sound strong, but the comments told another story. You cracked because she told the truth. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. You just weren't ready. Accountability isn't an ambush, Karoline. Even allies went quiet. One conservative radio host paused mid-broadcast to admit, that wasn't a win. That was a meltdown. Behind closed doors, donors pulled back. Event invites slowed. Her team argued over whether to cancel upcoming interviews. Karoline stared at her phone, refreshing Twitter, watching her name be reshaped by people she'd never met. And then came the text from a longtime strategist. You underestimated her. She didn't beat you with anger. She beat you with grace. That's what made it hurt. Meanwhile, Jasmine received over 2,000 emails in a single day. Veterans, teachers, young activists. Some wrote long letters. Others just said, "Thank you for staying calm. You showed us how to fight without screaming. You made space for dignity in politics again." But Jasmine didn't respond to the buzz. No interviews, no self-congratulatory tweets, no press tour. When a reporter outside the Capitol asked her, "Do you feel like you won?" she smiled lightly and replied, "It wasn't about winning. It was about standing, and sometimes standing still is enough to make the other side fall apart." Karoline tried to reclaim ground, scheduled a morning interview, wore a pale blazer, practiced her talking points. But the host didn't open with policy. Instead, "Karoline, let's talk about what happened during the debate. What was it about Jasmine Crockett's words that affected you so personally?" Karoline froze for half a beat, then forced a smile. "I was mischaracterized. That's all. Emotional manipulation. That's what the left does." The clip went viral, but not the way she hoped. Users stitched it side by side with Jasmine's now iconic quote, "It's not personal, it's powerful." Even conservatives whispered now, behind closed doors. She looked rattled. You don't cry unless it hit a nerve. Meanwhile, something else was happening. Jasmine's calm, restrained composure, her refusal to humiliate, her rejection of cheap victory, began circulating through classrooms, leadership forums, even community centers. She didn't post memes, she didn't dunk. But still, her quiet stood louder than Karoline's entire defense strategy. At a youth town hall in Detroit, a young girl stood up and asked, "How did you stay calm when she kept trying to provoke you?" Jasmine looked at her, smiled softly, and said, "Because I didn't come there to be angry. I came to be undeniable." The room erupted, but Jasmine stayed still. This wasn't about revenge. It was about redefining strength, not as volume, not as dominance, but as the ability to absorb fire and not burn down in return. Karoline watched the clip that night alone in her hotel room, paused it, rewound it, and for the first time, she didn't just feel defeated, she felt small, because Jasmine never tried to shrink her, but by simply standing tall, she had no choice. Weeks had passed since the debate, but the moment refused to fade. Clips of Jasmine calmly dismantling an attack without ever raising her voice had become more than viral. They had become reference. Professors played it in media ethics classes. Coaches played it in leadership seminars. Parents played it for their daughters. This is how you win without shouting. And Jasmine? She never once posted the clip herself. No retweets, no soundbite merch, no "I told you so," because she didn't need to. The world had already seen what it needed. Karoline, meanwhile, had disappeared from the front pages. Her name now floated mostly in past tense, not because of what she did, but because of how she unraveled when someone else didn't. At a panel in New York, Jasmine sat with other female leaders. When asked how she stayed so composed, she responded, Composure isn't weakness. It's a weapon, and silence, when rooted in truth, can be louder than rage. Thunderous applause, but she just nodded. Later that evening, a handwritten letter arrived at her office. No name, just a sentence. You made me believe that stillness can speak. Thank you. She read it once, folded it, placed it in her drawer. She didn't need the world to chant her name. She just needed them to remember what happened when a woman chose not to yell, and still made history echo with every word she didn't say. I didn't come here to outshout anyone. I came here to outlast the noise. You thought I'd meet your fire with fire, but I chose stillness. Because sometimes stillness is louder than rage. I don't need applause to prove I'm right. I don't need a raised voice to prove I'm strong. I let the truth speak, and when it did, the room changed. You tried to shake me, but I was rooted. You tried to rattle me, but I was ready. And in the end, you broke your own image trying to break mine. So no, I didn't yell, I didn't scream, I stood still, and that was enough to make everything else fall apart.